In-game live on SportsGrid World Cup 2026 coverage continues. Kevin Walsh and Tom Vecchio with you here at the start of Switzerland and Bosnia. My favorite bet on today's slate is from this match here. It's the Swiss side to score not once but twice. Minus 130 juice was out there and available. I know in other spots it's a little bit pricier, but I still think it is worth a go. You want to take the chance, wait 2 minutes and try and get a better price? I won't blame you. But it's not my fault that they score within the first 2 minutes. This is a Switzerland team who in the opening match against Qatar finished with 3.24 expected goals. Now, I know Bosnia are a better defense than Qatar. I understand that. But Bosnia allowed Canada a 1.23 expected goals, and the Swiss side are much better in attack than Canada. I think they find the back of the net multiple times here, Tom. It's how I'm attacking the second match of our day.
Love where you're going. Love looking to the expected goals of really what we should be expecting, no pun intended, from this game. But we did not see an offensive effort from Qatar in the first game as we are underway just a few minutes in for this one. I'm going to be turning to Breel Embolo to score or assist at plus 100. I also want to be adding in one more if we possibly can. Edin Dzeko is actually starting for Bosnia. Now, listen, This one's I got a little bit of explanation. First of all, he's one of their biggest historic players. He's also 40, right? So we are dealing with a player that's up in age. He may not be playing the full game, but he's minus 140 for one shot on target. For two shots on target, he's plus 400. He had 6 goals and 29 shots on target during qualifying for Bosnia. They need offense. They need to get some goals on the board. He's going to be looking there, so grab those while you can. Minus 140 and plus 400 for just 2 shots on target.
Yeah, Dzeko didn't get the start in that opening match against Canada. I do believe came on as a substitution, gets the start here today. And if you are Bosnia, getting that draw against Canada, you are allowed to play a little free here. You know, the idea at this tournament is 4 points is going to see you through, and Bosnia will be big favorites over Qatar in their final match. Now, nothing's guaranteed, but the reality is if you're Bosnia, and if you come out here and you play for 3 points and you get them, you're likely going to finish top of this group. I mean, that's just all there is to it, Tom.
Right. And I was going to say we should note things from the top. This group is extremely interesting because we're not just draws, through both of the first opening matches. It's draws at exactly 1-1. So the group everything's tied. No one has the advantage in goals for, goals against. It was 1-1 in both of the opening games for both teams. So to your point, getting the win and getting the 3 points for either team in any of the games today is a huge step up going into the next game. And I would say, arguably, this game is more important than the final game because if you can lock up the 3 points today, knowing what you have to do in the final game, that puts you in a significant advantage compared to saying, we need to get goals also while hoping the other team in the next game doesn't get goals. Like that is too much to try and take into account for one game.
And it's important for us to mention, though I'm sure most of you watching this are aware, but today begins our first wraparound of teams we've already seen. So through the first, 7 days of this tournament, we had all the groups in action. I believe all 12 groups. And man, what a start to this tournament it has been. We can talk about teams who catch our eye, futures market, things of that nature. But it's also now getting more information, right? It's kind of like an NFL season where, you rely on your priors and your preparation going into an NFL season. But when you hit week 4, weeks 1, 2, and 3 matter a lot more than probably that offseason research. And in the World Cup, it's a limited sample size, but man, what you saw in that opening match is certainly going to hold heavy. The counter to that, though, Tom, is you also don't want to overreact, right? You don't want to think that every game is going to look the same, copy-paste. So it's a delicate balance we attempt to find here as we see all of these teams now for a second time.
Right, boots on the ground for the first game is great. Getting us that first sample size, but we gotta, as you said, you can't overreact and think, oh, the pendulum's going to swing back to the complete opposite side. It's probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. So to see either team come out and just blitz them on offense would be a little bit surprising, knowing what's at stake and also knowing what they came from or what they did in the first game. So I'm expecting a little bit of scoring this. I would not be surprised to see this get to 1-1 at a certain point, but really a team pushing towards that second goal, as you are alluding to with Switzerland, with one of your favorite bets. That is going to be the difference maker. And when that comes in the game, I think is going to be the most interesting, because I think a lot of people are going to be looking to Switzerland on the two-way or the double result, getting Switzerland or draw. If you can get that live, I assume a lot of people will be looking there.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope Switzerland never create that opportunity and score early and often here in this match, Tom. I think they will win. I think they will grab the 3 points. I think they have to be pretty disappointed at the opening match. Now, did they deserve a draw against Qatar? Probably not. Certainly, again, through the expected goals, but it shows you have to take your chances, and that's just not what they did. Remember, they didn't score from open play against Qatar. The one goal was a penalty. I'm sure, a big part of the reason why you took Mbolo and saying if there's a kick from the spot, it's going to go his way. And obviously, we would think it would, since he made good on that first opportunity here. So I think that's another interesting element for Switzerland, but it's why I felt that we got a decent number on this team to score multiple goals.
It is. Mbolo had four goals, 13 shots on target through qualifying. Both of those led the team, which I liked. I also looked to Granit Xhaka for something. I just couldn't get there. He's, granted, the best Swiss player ever for them, man in the middle for them. So I like his ability to create, but just being as the guy to actually get the assist is something that we don't always see from him. But Xhaka being an option today, I think is there. And really the combination of them up top plus Daniel Nadoy, who plays for Nottingham Forest, who has some speed on the outside, that's where we should be looking, those top three guys.
Yeah, Jocko is someone that I played in the opening match, and I don't know if you were on Mbolo, but they were the last two guys to walk away from the ball on that for that penalty. So Jocko obviously did walk away. I was like, no, that was you would have trusted him to make that, obviously, but Mbolo made good on that opportunity, and we'll see if Switzerland can make good here. They've certainly controlled, I think, the most of possession. They've looked aggressive. They have not had a clean shot yet in this match here, but when we watch these games, we look for the early flow, and the early flow of this one is a very aggressive, attacking Switzerland side, in my opinion, Tom.
Yeah, it seems to be that way, and I got to assume Switzerland wants to get that first goal, get it early, and then settle into the game, and then really control things from there. And that's where they'll push for that second goal once they have one on the board. We haven't seen much from either side in terms of getting clean looks, to your point. But at a certain point, as we saw with plenty of games that ended in draws, as that's seemingly the trend of this tournament, sometimes that's just not good enough. Getting looks is not the same as getting good looks. So one or two good looks from Bosnia can be more important or better than 10 any looks from Switzerland. So I'm really going to be waiting to see how much the Swiss are going to be looking to push as we get into the later portions of the first half.
Yeah, quality of chances certainly always matters here. Now, we'll talk about what we've seen so far in this tournament. One thing, though, that we've seen, the draws, but only one scoreless draw. This has been a tournament where the goals have picked up, and some sides that were not really expected to score. You think about the Curacao goal against Germany. You think about that late Qatar goal against Switzerland. Those are, I think, encouraging signs. It's a reason, both teams to score has been a profitable bet throughout this tournament. And it's something that we saw come in again in our opening match today, where South Africa, a team who did not score their opener, playing Mexico, were able to find the back of the net. Now, yes, due to a penalty, but hey, that happens against Czechia, and it certainly makes the difference. So we're live, off and running with Greg. It's In Game Live on SportsGrid.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all four.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
Is there any digging out of this massive hole that the Red Sox have built themselves? And Adam, I'm not talking about playoffs here, you know? Like, I'm talking about just like a respectable 500 type season.
Yeah, this team is an absolute mess and should blow it up. Should be sellers come the deadline, and anything that you've got of value, get rid of it and just try and remake this thing.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. Like, I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron. Listen, I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
In-game live World Cup coverage 2026 continues on SportsGrid. It's Switzerland and it's Bosnia. 12 minutes in to this match. We are scoreless, but Switzerland have looked aggressive. They sit minus 220, minus 230 on the live money line. Total right now, even money on the over 2.5, but certainly could shift in an instance here. Again, as Switzerland have been very, very aggressive in their attack. One thing, Tom, I wanted to ask you, as we are, though, through a full set of games for every team, is there, and we can talk about a few of them, but is there one takeaway that's sitting with you, whether it was a singular team, an overarching theme? Is there one thing that stood out through you through the first 7 match days we've had?
That's a good question. I think I want to say things have held to my expectation to a certain point. Spain not winning, I think everyone's going to point to. I think a lot of the draws are interesting. Seeing that there's so much value in that, especially live, and the ability for teams to respond quickly. We've seen in a lot of these games. I can't say that there's one thing too surprising. I know a lot of fans are going to be disappointed with who advances out of the group and then who are the best of the 8 remaining third place teams. It's going to set up a lot of interesting matchups. But I would say the big names not necessarily stepping up: Belgium, Spain. Those are probably 2 the most, and Portugal. Those 3 teams, a little bit uneasy on them right now.
Yeah, I think still the most surprising thing we've seen, the biggest upset through the odds, was Spain not beating Cape Verde. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on them heading into their Sunday match against Saudi Arabia. It's another spot where they are a massive favorite. And understandably so. There is a big gap in world rankings between those 2 sides. And now for Spain, I don't think 3 points are enough. I think people are looking for a performance here. A 3 goals or less in the back of the net, and likely to, keep another clean sheet, which at least defensively they were able to do against Cape Verde. Because for Spain, again, there are certain teams where if you make it out, great. If you win a game in the knockout stage, amazing. And then there's teams like Spain where anything other than being in that final and winning that final are disappointing. And that's the case for a team like Spain. So it's a result. And here's the reality of it. Listen, I understand the draws have been profitable. And, you're always getting, a plus price, usually 2-1 or better on a draw. But the draws are going to finish profitable in this tournament pretty much no matter what because of that Spain-Cape Verde result. So that's something that certainly sticks with me. I'll tell you another thing, though, Tom. And it kind of is on the back of the Spain performance. If we graded how every team looked through their first result, their first game, the U.S. did put forward easily one of the 10 best performances of the opening set of match days, maybe one of the 5 best performances. I mean, they really did. They were dominant in that match against Paraguay, and I'm not saying that means they're going to go here and make a semifinal run, but I also don't think it's crazy to say, okay, the U.S. has to be winning a knockout stage game. The U.S. has to be winning their group. Those were 2 things that were not, big favorites coming into this tournament. And now that feels like the floor a little bit in terms of expectations here. It's why there's a lot of excitement certainly heading into tomorrow's match.
And that's what makes it so interesting. The expectations, as you're pointing to, for different countries is vastly different. A lower tier team coming away with 2 draws and a loss that's a great performance, especially if they haven't been here. They haven't been here for 30 years, whatever it might be. If Cape Verde has no more wins or that they lose both of their remaining games, I still think this is a win for them overall. But to your point with Spain, it's not just about advancing out of the group. It's advancing and looking like truly a threat to be the top team in the tournament and win it, like going away almost, which is not necessarily something that we've seen from them. We haven't seen it from Portugal. We've definitely seen it from Argentina. But to see some of these teams shifting up and down on a game-to-game basis, that's what I find the most interesting. As for the U.S., it's really about this next game versus Australia. Coming out strong with momentum. Obviously, we're not sure if Pulisic's going to play yet, dealing with, there was the calf injury. But coming out strong versus them, getting a win, and then being in the driver's seat going into that last game versus Turkey. That's what it's about. It's not about losing this game or draw and then having to need to get help, as we've seen in previous World Cups. What was it, the 2014 World Cup, where they needed help from Portugal to get the tie just to advance? That's where they can't be. So the expectation is now higher than it's ever been for Team USA.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It 100% is. Christian Pulisic, we'll see what his fitness is for tomorrow's match. If he doesn't play, I don't think it's the end of the world, because I think it means that they're just trying to be conservative for a player who's not been the healthiest over his career as a professional, footballer. But time will tell on that there. There's also a couple of results where I feel maybe I had a different feeling than some. A lot of people were really negative on the Brazil performance against Morocco. And I don't think they looked great in the game. I don't think they deserved more than what they got, which was a point. But Morocco are a good side. And Brazil pretty much, through just a sheer moment of individual excellence from Vinny Jr., grabbed the goal back after trailing, and then were able to hold on for the length of that match. And while that is not going to be the way for this team to live, there are going to be moments where they're going to have to win matches ugly. And I think that there, people talk about, hey, can you go to Kylian Mbappe? Can you turn to Leo Messi, Erling Haaland? Brazil are supposed to have some of that high-end quality in their own right. And again, Morocco are not an easy out. Everyone knows that. Tom has told you guys all he's got futures on this Moroccan side here. So I understand the Brazil standard is higher. I understand that. But to be able to get a result off a team like Morocco, it's with one good 4 minutes, I thought was impressive. We'll be right back. In-game live with you guys right here. We're probably approaching our hydration break pretty soon in Switzerland, Bosnia. If you look right now, statistically, Switzerland, they have possession. They've, a few times been in the Bosnia's penalty area, but not much doing, right? A shot on goal, but it wasn't super threatening. A very, very easy save for the keeper. A few shots wide. They just maybe took their best chance so far, but again, it was well wide. It didn't actually require a save here. Again, Switzerland are going to break through. There's just not much of a doubt in my mind. Time will tell. I wanted to throw something your way, Tom. I just think it's up your alley. It's the World Cup. There's different specials out there. So they had a plus 800 special on Fanatics for every single team to score in the tournament, which is really every team to score in the group stage. Obviously, nobody's getting out of the group stage without a goal. And I said, listen, it's a bit of fun. I'm sure it's plus 800, right? It's supposed to lose. We'll see. We get through the first round of matches. Only 8 teams did not score in those first round of matches. So 40 teams scored. South Africa today scored, who did not in their opening match against Mexico. There are only 7 teams who have not scored in this tournament. I just wanted to list them for you.
Yeah.
Haiti, who didn't score against Scotland.
Okay.
The Turkey 2-0 loss, of course, to Australia. So Turkey. Ecuador, who didn't score against the Ivory Coast. Of course, the scoreless draw between Spain and Cape Verde. Hilarious that Spain are on this list. Algeria, and then Panama. So we're down to 17. But if we're being honest, Spain will score. Come on.
Right.
Okay. Ecuador will score. Their next match is against Curacao. They're minus 10,000 to score in that game. And Turkey will score, whether it be against, Paraguay, the U.S., both. So really, this plus 800 ticket is down to Haiti, it's down to Panama, and it's down to Cape Verde. With 2 matches left here, Tom.
Okay.
I'm all of a sudden optimistic on this one.
I honestly, I would have loved to have this ticket or something along these lines, because I'm thinking about what would be, like you said, Spain's going to score. Turkey's a good team. A lot of people think Turkey can get out of the group. A lot of people think it could be U.S. Turkey 1-2 in that.
Yeah,
so
some books they were the favorite for the group.
Right. So Ecuador will score against Curacao. We could lock that up. It really does come down to Haiti, because Haiti not scoring against Scotland. Yeah, that puts them at a disadvantage. Them not scoring against Morocco is very plausible. Morocco has a great defense. We saw it at the last World Cup. This is part of the reason why, I like Morocco, just because they play such good defense. Them not scoring against Brazil or not really touching the ball a whole lot versus Brazil is also possible. But I would say it does come down to these 2 teams of Haiti and Cape Verde. And the others look pretty. Algeria can get across against
Absolutely.
Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm with it.
I worry about Panama a little bit, but their minus 140 range to score against Croatia now probably has to be there, right? Because then they'll close with England, and they certainly will not be favored to score in that match. But here's the interesting thing. If we get to that last match, and I need Panama to score against England, it will be the only thing left. If you look at the way the games have played out, that is the final day of match play. And based on Tom and I's, kind of going through these teams, everyone else will have scored heading into that slate. Like, if I'm alive, you know what I mean? Like, I will be able to potentially maneuver a little bit if I would like to. For reference, it's plus 118 for Haiti to score against Brazil, plus 102 for Cape Verde to score against Uruguay, which I thought was interesting. And then Panama again about minus 140 to Croatia. So the odds are in my favor now, Tom.
They are. The plus 102 and the plus 118, we're dealing with just sub 50% of implied probability on those. So it's not like we're dealing like, oh, it has like a 2% outcome. Like we're dealing with like a 45% implied probability on those.
Yeah. Awful touch from Mbola. We'll update you on this match here after a quick break.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Terrible start last year, injured all the way through, didn't have a chance to win that Major League Baseball season. This year, first team to 20 wins, first team to 30 wins, first team to 40 wins. It's all been the Atlanta Braves. With baseball club lurking around here.
They still have some guys, some starting pitchers on the shelf there that could help them down the road, but the Braves are sitting pretty right now.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Pitching has been really good in their bullpen too. So Chris Getz, their general manager, credit to him. This guy was getting pounded a couple of years ago for decisions and everything like that, but man, it is seemingly working out. The fans, by the way, all of a sudden are pouring in there. Their attendance is on the rise too. So a great sign that the White Sox are in this thing. Now, long term, I don't know. Like, is this a postseason team? Is it a deep postseason team?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, guys, 30 minutes in to Bosnia, Switzerland. We're still scoreless here, and the total is now 1.5 minus 175 to the over. Switzerland are minus 195 to win this game, and I am not entirely sure where to look live. I mean, Bosnia have not looked threatening. Is there a moment in this game, Tom, where you felt they looked threatening? Not for me.
Not really. I was about to say, like, this game does not have a lot of flow. I mean, Switzerland right now is controlling things 70-30 if you're just looking at possession. But the possession that Bosnia have is they're just trying to get things set up. Once they cross midfield, there's not a lot of chances towards the net. Switzerland certainly is controlling things, but on the other side of that is they also haven't been super threatening. We're seeing them control things, but they don't have the pedal down to the metal at this point. They're not pushing forward. So this is where it gets interesting, because if Bosnia does happen to get one strike or get a good chance on a free kick, in a threatening area, that's what will turn this game.
Yeah, 100%. I do wonder if it's a match where the first goal opens things up. We've seen that in this tournament. But when is that first match, goal going to come? Are we going to get a goal here in this half? It's minus 250 for this half to end in a draw. Minus 190 I'm seeing right now for there to be no goals here in the opening 45 plus stoppage time. Plus 150 for there to be a goal. I can't say I love it. It doesn't feel like a great price. But it doesn't feel like a great price either, really.
I mean, at this point, there's in the first half with the chances being so limited, and I almost wonder if the teams had scored more and still had draws in the first game, would things be different now? Like if they at least got the offense going a little bit consistently in the first game, they both had draws at 2-2. Would we be seeing a little more offensive confidence compared to a game where, we are looking at teams that are now fighting for every point and goal differential and goals scored. Obviously, they need the tiebreakers. So if they had 2 goals on the board already, I'd almost feel more confident in buying into there being offense, but I can't say it at this point.
The other piece of this is while we talk about getting out of the groups being easier, there are obviously teams who have bigger eyes than that, and where you get seated is really going to matter. And if you finish atop this group, you are getting to play a third place team. But more importantly, Tom, if you're Canada, the game is in Canada. Second place in this group has to go to California for a match that projects to be against South Korea. We will see, but that's the projection. Again, we will see. It honestly could end up against Mexico. We'll see what tonight's results look like, but not just playing a third place side. If you're Canada and you get to play in BC, I mean, that's a huge deal. That's just a huge deal to play in Vancouver.
So when you're looking at, are you looking at tonight's game for Canada in terms of they're now have to take a step forward in terms of mentality based on today's result between this game? Because that's how I'm almost approaching. Like Canada needs to come out with their hair on fire, and they need to score first, and they need to get those goals on the board early in order to control their own destiny, essentially.
I'm almost thinking the reaction to a potential non-Switzerland victory being one where we think to ourselves, Canada can really finish top of this group. So if I just run this out, if Canada win today, which again, they are really big favorites to do so, that would get them to 4 points. If, let's say, Switzerland draw, that would sit them at 2. If you're Canada, a draw could be good enough in the game against, I mean, certainly would be good enough to keep you above Switzerland. Bosnia, then, I guess we would get to a goal differential situation because they would be favorites over South Africa. But again, I don't think Bosnia are a lock to really beat any side necessarily in this tournament. And, South Africa, again, doing that right? No, not South Africa. Excuse me. Qatar. Bosnia would be pretty big favorites against. But then they'd be on 5 each, right? And it would come down to goal differential. So it does matter a ton then today, Tom, if this does go for a draw. Because then Canada not only need to beat Qatar, they need to beat them by margin.
Yeah, so it comes down to this as the Swiss are lining up for a corner kick right now, which may be one of their best chances of the first half as they get this up and not through. But if this ends in a draw, then we'll have Switzerland and Bosnia both sitting with 2 points. Canada has a chance to now jump ahead to 4 points, and then it comes down to Canada playing Switzerland in that final game. That's what we're talking about. But then the result is also dependent on Bosnia versus Qatar. Then that's the goal differential we'd be looking at.
But also, if Switzerland don't grab 3 points here, it's not a guarantee that a draw will be enough to see them through to the knockout round.
No.
Also, Switzerland will still be favored in that match, right? We could see Bosnia finish top of this group. Again, they have to hold on here, but it's a really big deal that Switzerland didn't grab 3 points off Qatar, and it's a big deal if they don't grab them here today. They were minus 180 in this game.
Right.
And while I think they look the more threatening side, we're getting to a point in this tournament where who cares? Can you put the ball in the back of the net? Right now, the answer for Switzerland is no.
Do we want to look ahead to the lines that are posted for next Wednesday between these teams? Bosnia minus 175, Qatar plus 500, Switzerland plus 110, Canada plus 260. And these games will be happening at the exact same time, both Wednesday at 3 p.m. So everything happens at the same time. We don't have to worry about a team knowing or not knowing the goal differential.
Well, you can go a step further, though, in this respect. If Switzerland do draw, the importance of Canada winning is obviously massive, because if you get to a spot against where Switzerland need points, but so do Canada, it's, the Swiss aren't going to just sit back and, all good, 0-0. I'm sure because these are the earlier playing groups. Like, you're not sure that 3 points are going to get you through, right? So for Canada, there's certainly a lot of pressure. Again, this is a team who's never won a World Cup game. They've never won a World Cup game. So they have to win today against Qatar. There's no other way to put it. It's an absolute must-win. We'll see if they're able to break through. Tom and I will be back here tonight for the first half of that match. Our guy Gabe is out on assignment. You can check him out at Sports Rage, covering all the action around that one. But as we head to another break here, still scoreless, minus 150 over 1.5 is where we are now. It is minus 270 for the under 2.5 in this game. Minus 260 for both teams to score no. So you can see right now the tone of this match is an under, and, perhaps a Switzerland 1-0, 2-0 type of victory. We'll see after a quick break right here on SportsGrid. All right, back with you guys right here on SportsGrid. And Tom, because these matches are now starting on time, it's not a bad idea for you and I to go through Canada, Qatar, which we will again be back here for the first half of, and talk a little bit about any action that we will have or the angles that we're looking for in this match. So just to kind of set the lines up here, minus 340 on that three-way money line for Canada. Draw, plus 460. Qatar to win it outright, plus 950. 2.5 is your total, minus 144 towards the over, with a plus 118 price on the under. Both teams to score, minus 160. No. What are you looking for here in this third match on today's slate?
Again, to your point, Canada's never won a World Cup game. This is the time for them to do it, given the opponent, given the circumstance of the group and where things lie now and where they will, regardless of the outcome of this. Because if Switzerland, who's the favorite now, coming into this game, wins, Canada needs to win this game. And again, I think there needs to be a sense of urgency where they come out with their hair on fire. I want to look to Jonathan David to score or an assist. It's minus 150, at least on FanDuel. There's plenty of promos out there, plenty of boosts, whatever that might be. Minus 150 for arguably their best player, I think is a fair price. Just get in on the action. If this is what the money line is suggesting, with them being at minus 340, minus 350-ish, they should be pushing the pace, and he should be the one involved. So I'm willing to go to a minus 150 price. I think it's fair. Again, slap a promo boost wherever you might happen to have on it.
Yeah, you have to be able, I think, it can be similar to baseball. You can't be too scared off by juice in this sport. And you also have to get creative, which is what I did here in some respect with this Canada match, where I do think they will get their first result as a nation here at the World Cup. I think they will win this game, but I think they win this like 1-0, 2-0.
Really?
Canada are not great offensively.
Okay.
This is not a team who light it up. Again, I know this, doing all these shows with Gabe, and not just, when Canada's on. Gabe has been, everyone knows, very excited for the World Cup. So we've been talking, we were talking Canada friendlies against Uzbekistan, okay, and Ireland. Canada are not an offensive force. I thought they looked threatening in the second half against Bosnia, but they struggled to finish. And some of their frontline guys just, again, it feels like they're going to be better in the second half, assuming that they kind of roll out the same substitution patterns. So maybe they pile on late. But again, as we said, for Canada, who I think will trust their defense, and I think are defensively, you could argue, better than 3-minute stoppage time is, by the way, just a total disgrace.
Yes.
The hydration break is 3 minutes. There's never been a match in my life where there's not been stoppage time. So that just basically means that this we would have blew the whistle at bang 45. There would have been wouldn't have been an added minute. Just a total disgrace to this tournament. Really, really annoying, actually. Really annoying. It really like.
You don't like the hydration break?
No, I have no problem with the hydration break. I have a problem with the hydration break is already somewhat kind of impacts the purity of the game. And I am not a soccer purist, but I can appreciate those who are. But what I cannot deal with is when you have an isolated 3-minute built-in break. I have never seen a match not have extra added stoppage time. Even if it's 1 minute, I've never not seen it. Well, this tells us we would have seen it for the first time. The hydration break is 3 minutes. That cannot happen. Like, you're cutting the game down. We're actually now not playing a full match if you're going to do it this way. And again, we know what the hydration break is, right? It's safety, wink, wink, get us the commercials. And again, whatever. But you can't, on top of that, then provide us less of the game. That's not acceptable. And that's what that is. Even if it's 1 minute, it makes the difference. It just does. So it really bothers me. It really bothers me.
Okay. I see. I totally see what you're saying. Believe me. I understand why. Like, I understand all your points. But, regardless of those, This first half, again, seems a little bit choppy. It seems like there's no flow to the game. There's no back and forth. Switzerland looks to be threatening, but then they're just not coming through with the proper chances or enough of them. We're not seeing enough high quality chances for them. So I would say all in all, this is a win for Bosnia in the first half, assuming that we end scoreless with about another minute or so to go. But this is a win for Bosnia in the first half. They don't control possession. They are ahead when it comes to expected goals, if that's anything. But this has not been a win for Switzerland right now, just having 70-30 in possession right now.
No, you're absolutely correct. The biggest element of this is Bosnia have the Qatar game in hand.
Yes.
So again, the reality for Bosnia, they don't need a win, and honestly, a loss isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to them because they got that point off Canada.
Right.
Now, as Tom and I have talked through the scenarios, though, here throughout this show, Bosnia may start to get a little enamored with a draw, thinking to themselves, we're going to win this group. Again, if Bosnia get the draw and beat Qatar as favored, that gets them to 5 points. That would be the maximum that Switzerland could get to. And if Switzerland got to that 5 number, Canada then does not, no matter what happens against Qatar. Okay? And if Canada beat Qatar but draw against Switzerland, well, then we find ourselves at 5 apiece. Let's see what the goal differential looks like. So, and by the way, Switzerland will be favored, as we went through the lines, over Canada in that match. So this is a huge win for Bosnia, and Switzerland need a bit of a wake-up call, no doubt. We will look at the halftime options. We'll talk a little more Canada-Qatar. It's a quick break. Right back here on Sports.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
Is there any digging out of this massive hole that the Red Sox have built themselves? And Adam, I'm not talking about playoffs here, you know? Like, I'm talking about just like a respectable 500 type season.
Yeah, this team is an absolute mess and should blow it up. Should be sellers come the deadline, and anything that you've got of value, get rid of it and just try and remake this thing.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Wembanyama goes to the park and plays chess against people. Like, I saw him come in with a book today. Yeah. He walked in with a book, Kevin. He had a bunch of books in his hand. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's the only NBA player that actually walks in with a book that actually read it.
Yeah. It's a good take. It's a good take. Yeah.
Shot of LeBron. Listen, I couldn't help it.
I knew that I was trying to cut you off before you said the name.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, in-game live, Bosnia, Switzerland. Tempted by the over 1.5. Don't want to put bad money on top of bad money, but I am tempted by it. Bosnia are a capable side. I just expected a really good Switzerland performance. But now that we're at 1.5, I'll hunt around, but I'm seeing minus 105. You can maybe find a little bit better. I'm not desperate to leave Bosnia out of it, is kind of where I'm at. That's kind of what my thoughts are right now, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, Tom, as potential live options here.
It's tough. We haven't seen flow in offense. We haven't seen either team threatening. We haven't seen any one player step up too much. I'd still look back to Granit Xhaka for at least one shot on target. That's sitting up at plus 210 now. Granted, in the game versus Qatar, it was a different quality of opponent. He didn't have any shots on target. He did have 2 shots. He's their captain. He's been at, his 4th World Cup. He's been the one leading them forward for, over a decade at this point. So it would have to be him. He does have a shot. It's not a shot on target, but they need to start taking some chances. And, the same thing I would say about Bosnia is it almost looks like when they're approaching the box, they're looking for the perfect shot. And they're trying to do like one too many passes. So let's just get some action going forward and get a rebound and go from there instead of setting one extra pass up.
The flow of this game, as you've mentioned, is a bit odd, right? And again, that's going to just kind of give me some hesitation on fully jumping in, but that's kind of where we're looking at here. Just to finish the Canada-Qatar thoughts, and I mentioned, 1-0, 2-0 result here. Canada are good defensively. Qatar were quite fortunate to find that late goal against Switzerland. I mean, it was in the last minute of that game. Which
was an own goal.
Right. What? Oh, did it go down as an own goal?
It went down officially as an own goal. And listen, to your point, it was 3.2 expected goals for Switzerland in that game. Qatar was 0.9. So it was just extremely lopsided.
Yeah. And yet, the draw's the draw.
1-1.
So I played, Tom, under 2.5 plus 118. And Canada money line parlay with under 3.5, which did come in at even money. Again, different. I will tell people this. Just hey, we can kind of talk. The score has been really good for soccer parlays, I've found. If you're looking for kind of those little same game 2-leggers, I found the score to have some pretty good odds. So that's where I am at for the Canada game, and I might as well just mention it just in case. Hey, maybe you can't check us out later. We will go over this, but Mexico, South Korea, it's another spot where I'm thinking under. This is another, and this is a perfect example of reading the situation. South Korea, all they have left is South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
They will be decent favorites in the match. They, not like major favorites, but they'll be favorites in the match. And they've potentially already grabbed enough points in the 3 against Czechia to get out. I don't think South Korea will be pushing for a win here against Mexico. I don't think so. I think they'd be very happy with a scoreless draw, quite honestly. So I'm on under 2.5. I, however, did pair it with the Mexico double chance. Because the 2.5 is like minus 160, little pricey. I don't see Mexico losing here. I don't. The value of home field advantage in this tournament is legit, Tom. So that is how I'm playing the late game.
Okay, and I think this is a perfect example of how everyone needs to be approaching these second games, because you can't be looking at them in a bubble. It's if they win this, what happens the next time? That is the most important thing. You're saying, if they get the points, if they already have a win, if they get a draw, they're set up perfectly for the next game, or vice versa. They need a win, they need to be pushing, and they can't have a bad goal differential. So as we talked about, this is the first chance that we're seeing the teams for the second time. We need to be looking forward, not just today and the following games, but for that third game is huge.
Yeah, I may end up putting maybe a touch on that scoreless draw, but that is what we could see tonight. We'll see you back here, 6 o'clock, Canada, Qatar on SportsGrid.